In this lesson, we'll focus on two important aspects when you first start Substance Painter: creating a new project and baking our additional maps. To create a new project, go up to File and choose New. This will bring up the New Project dialog. First, we can have a look at the templates. Now this refers to the type of shader you'd like to use for the project. We have things like Spec Gloss workflow. If you're working with something like Dota, we also have that as a template. For this project, we're going to stick with the PBR Metal Rough workflow. Next, we want to load our mesh, so I'll hit Select and pick our low-res mesh. Now, we aren't working with any UDIMs, so we can leave this portion unchecked. Next is the normal map format, and you can pick either OpenGL or DirectX depending on which renderer you'll be using. For this, we'll just stick with the default DirectX. The next option is Compute Tangent Space per Fragment, and this is a specific setting for use within Unreal 4, so I'll leave this unchecked as well. The document resolution, we'll change this to 2048, and don't worry, we can always change this at any time without any loss during the project. The section down here will allow you to import any other previously baked maps or textures to be used within the project. Because this is a fresh project, we're not going to add anything to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and just hit OK. As you can see, our mesh is now loaded in the viewport and our project is finally set up. The next thing we can do is bake our texture maps. Before we do that, I just want to point out that this asset is using two materials, one for the head and one for the legs. These are referred to as texture sets within Painter. As you can see on the far right, I can toggle each one on or off. Clicking on these also indicates which texture set I'm currently working on. So if I click on the legs, I'm working on the legs only. If I click on the head, I'm working on the head only. In the later lesson, I'll show you how to set this up within Maya. Now to bake our maps, we can go under the Texture Set Settings tab, scroll down to Bake Textures, and this will bring up the Baking dialog window. As discussed in the previous lesson, this is where we'll be baking our additional maps. You'll notice all the maps are listed on the left side of the window. What we're going to do is bake all of these required maps for the project in one go. First thing we're going to do is change the output size to 2048 and input our high poly mesh. So what we're going to do is basically a quick bake, which is essentially doing a bake at a lower quality just to ensure that everything generates smoothly. And that's all I have to do to set up to bake all the required maps. So we can start the bake by hitting the Bake All Texture Sets button. What this will do is compute all the maps for both the head and the leg portions. Now, if I only want to bake maps for the texture set that I'm currently working on, we can do that with the button next to it, which is labeled Bake Head Textures. But for now, since we want both sets baked out, I'm going to simply hit Bake All Texture Sets. So I'm going to let these maps bake out, and in the next lesson, we can inspect our baked maps.